Hi, yr10. Well, it seems that I had all these plans of being with you, but then other things happened. So here we are. We're going to do this lesson here, and then we're going to talk about quadratic expressions. So we need to just define a few things. The first thing I want to define is what we call a binomial. A binomial is simply two things added together. So for example, x plus 2 is a binomial. You notice you've got 1, 2. Two things binomial. Or y minus 4, or 3x squared plus 2y. All those are expressions where you have one and you have two things. So a binomial is simply something that has two parts to it. Something plus or minus something else. All right, so we could put it in general. In general, a binomial is a plus or minus b, where a and b could be all kinds of things, including variables or expressions, all kinds of things. But you can't have something within an expression within an expression. It's got to be like I said, x plus 2, y minus 4, 3x squared plus 2y, 2y squared minus 3a. All those things are binomial. So a quadratic expression is a special term for is an expression with an x squared term. So in general, what we say is something like this: ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are numbers. All right. So for example, you could have 2x squared plus 3x plus 1 is a quadratic expression. X squared minus 2 is a quadratic. 4x squared minus 6x is a quadratic expression. 2x plus 1 is not a quadratic expression because it doesn't have a x squared term. All right? And there's all kinds of things. X minus x squared plus 3x. Any number of them, but it has to have an x squared, it has to have an x squared term in it. That's the key. All right? That's the key. And it's in the general form. You either have x squared and then x and then a constant at most. All right, so you've got x squared in all of these. That's what it makes it a quadratic. Now, what we're going to do today is work through this idea of binomial expressions, and see how we can expand them and work through what we need to do. So we're going to simplify and expand and practice out doing that. So what we have is, eventually what we're going to get to is being able to factorize quadratics and a whole lot of skills that we're going to get to. But what we're going to focus on today is expanding what we call binomial products. So as we said already, a binomial is something like this: x plus 1. And a binomial product, the product means we multiply them. Multiplied by, let's say, x plus 2. Now, of course, we don't need to write the multiplication sign. When we just put x plus 1, x plus 2, it's implied that they're multiplied. So we want to expand these. Again, a binomial is this, and this is a binomial, and a product means multiplication. All right? Product means multiplication. A binomial means this one and this one. So we want to see how we're going to expand that. Now, it's actually a fairly straightforward concept, but you have to multiply each part with each other part. So let's have a look. There's a couple of helpful ways that we can do that. So if we expand these, I'm going to use green. What we need to do, and this actually ends up being a quadratic. I'll put that here. Ends up as a quadratic. So what we're going to do is, it's a bit big, so we're going to do that. What we have to do is we go, this first one multiply with that one. And then this first one we have to multiply with that one. And then this second one we have to multiply with that one. And then this second one we have to multiply with the second one. And we need to take note of the signs. And so each of these, so basically what you're doing is multiplying 4 things together. There's a couple of other techniques, but this is kind of my preferred way that we multiply. It's kind of sometimes called the FOIL. First, maybe if I numbered them, we have first, that's the F. Outside, the outside term. Inside, that's an I. And then last, so FOIL sometimes is used. Whether that's helpful or not, some people say it looks like a crab claw. I don't know about that, but it can be known to look like a claw. But anyway, one way or the other, you need to multiply. So let me redraw these. I'm going to write it again. So x plus 1 times x plus 2. Now the key is that you multiply everything by everything else. Too often, students just forget to kind of do one or the other. So I'll just draw the arrows again. First, outside, inside, last. And so here, if I expand this, write in an expanded way, this is how we do it. X times x. All right. Then I've got x times 2. Then I've got 1 times x. Then I have 1 times 2. All right, now in this case, we've got plus signs on each one, so we'll do a few examples in our next little video. What's x times x? Well, x times x is x squared. What's x times 2? That becomes 2x. What's 1 times x? That becomes x. And what's 1 times 2? That becomes 2. Now we can simplify this. X squared, there's no like terms. 2x and x are like terms. So we get x squared plus 2x plus x is 3x plus 2. So what we see is x plus 1, x plus 2, this binomial product, that's the term we have, this is a binomial product, a product or multiplication of 2 different binomials ends up as a quadratic expression. That's what a quadratic is. Remember what we said, we have an x squared term at the start. All right, I'm going to do a few examples in our next video.